Hello guys, this is your friend. And we are back with a new fanfic. Which is what if Naruto was the first demon Shinigami and got harem with Yoruichi part 1. And if you enjoy this fanfic then please press the like button and subscribe to my channel for more fanfic like this. And now let's start the fanfic. It was a calm and cool night in the Saraite. Nothing was out of the ordinary. The Shinigami were doing their rounds as usual. However, in the distance there was one particular individual who was jumping from rooftop to rooftop. He was clearly in a hurry. His thoughts were focused on one thing, and it was driving him crazy because he couldn't figure out how to deal with it. Upon reaching his destination, he forced his mind to become a blank slate, as he stood staring at the front doors to one of the most famous clans in the Saraite, the Shihuan clan. Instinctively he reached out to push one of the two doors to the compound, but he stopped himself at the last second. Whoa, that was close. I know her well enough to be prepared. She might have some extra Omnitsukido stationed here to keep, as, mostly Urahara, out so we don't pull any late night pranks. He allowed himself a small chuckle at a recent memory of a prank that Urahara and he had pulled. Man was she pissed. We both ended up in the hospital, but thanks to my fast healing, I was fine. Unfortunately, I could not say the same thing for Urahara. The smile that was on his face suddenly changed to a frown. Now that I think about it, I'm not sure she forgave me for that. I just hope she can forgive me for what I am about to do to her now. Stepping back, he looked up, and in one swift action, he jumped onto the roof and hurried forward to his ultimate destination. Entering a room through an open window, he looked around the room, and spotting a picture frame on a dresser, he walked towards it. Stopping next to the dresser, he picked up the frame and sees a photograph of a tall blonde man with a fox-like grin on his handsome face. His hair was spiky, and almost seemed to defy the laws of gravity. His eyes were ocean blue, and his most distinctive feature was the 6 whisker marks on his cheeks, 3 on each side. He wore his captain uniform, which consisted of the captain haori that draped over his form, stopping right above his ankles. It was decorated with orange-red flames on the bottom, and had the written kanji character of the word third written on the back. His outfit was completed underneath with a standard Shinigami uniform. The woman next to him, with her arms around one of his and smiling benignly into the camera, was none other than Yoruichi Shihuan, the 22nd head of the Shihuan clan. Her skin was a beautiful shade of dark brown, which contrasted with her luminous golden eyes in a visually striking effect. She had brilliant purple hair, which was tied up in a ponytail with an orange ribbon. Her attire consisted of a black sleeveless undershirt, an orange overshirt with 2 white straps on each shoulder with a large beige sash around her waist. On her legs, she wore simple black stretch pants. On her wrists, she had long beige wrist warmers, secured by bands, with matching long beige leg warmers. A simple pair of brown shoes completed her outfit. The man stared at the picture for a long moment before he carefully put the frame back on the dresser. He couldn't help but smile to himself. That was the day I became a captain. He swiftly turned around and walked towards the bed, where the purple-haired goddess was sleeping peacefully, unaware of his presence. Carefully kneeling by the edge of the bed, he placed a hand on her cheek and stroked it tenderly, marveling at its softness. I still can't figure out how she fell in love with an idiot like me. He listened for a moment to the sound of her purring. Huh, I thought she only purred in her cat form. Well, I guess you learn something new every day. He chuckled softly. After a moment, he straightened up and pulled out a folded piece of paper, slipping it under her pillow. He then bent down to place a feather-light kiss on her forehead. Well, Yoruichi, I guess this is goodbye. He whispered softly to her. Walking to the window, he turned and looked at her one more time before jumping out the window and disappearing into the night. Little did he know that Yoruichi had heard him. She stirred and then lay there for a moment longer before she sat up and rubbed one of her eyes. Naruto, is that you? She mumbled, her voice still thick with sleep. After a moment of looking around her room and seeing no one there, she shrugged her shoulders and lay back down in her bed. Putting an arm under her pillow, she felt something. She sat up a bit and pulled it out of her pillow. It looked like a folded piece of paper. What the heck is this? Yoruichi said to herself. Turning her lamp on, she carefully unfolded the paper and began to read it. Yoruichi, if you are reading this, then I have already left the Saraite. You should know by now what happened, but on the off chance you don't, I will tell you. For the past few months, I have been secretly following and monitoring Lieutenant Aizen due to reports of him that were connected with suspicious activities. One day I was careless and he discovered me. He found out what I was doing and planned to get rid of me. He tried killing me, but we are both equals on the battlefield. Beaten, he used his last resort. He pulled out a small, black orb from his robes and used it on me. I cannot tell you what it did to me, because even I do not know all of the effects of this orb. I do know that it's affecting my body very quickly and in a bad way. However, it gets worse. Killing me was not the only thing in his plans. Aizen is also plotting to murder Central 46. Since I am the only one who knows what he is going to do, he plans to tell the head captain that it was my plan to kill them and it will work thanks to his damned sword Shikai ability. You remember that time when he showed us his Shikai ability? That was before he became a lieutenant, but apparently Aizen's Shikai true ability really is Kanzen Seiman, complete hypnosis. It controls the 5 senses to the point that it can make the target misinterpret form, shape, mass, feel and smell. The initial condition for the hypnosis is to show the enemy the release form of his Kyoka Suigetsu. After seeing it just once, that person will completely succumb to the hypnosis. After that, every time it is released, that person will fall under the thrall of the hypnosis. He tried to use it on against me, but it had no effect, due to my powers. The only way he can get rid of me is to either execute me or have me arrested. This will probably be the last time you will hear from me, so I must tell you one more thing. You have to promise me that no matter what happens or whatever you hear, you will not come looking for me. Also, I want you to move on, forget about me, and go forward with your life. I don't want you to get hurt. Please Yoruichi, just do it for you, not me. Naruto Uzumaki. Yoruichi put the note down and sat there in shock at what she just read. After a long moment, she came back to reality. She snapped her fingers. Soi Fan, with 3 other Omnitsukido members, appeared right in front of her. Hi Lady Yoruichi. Soi Fan was nervous. She knew something was wrong, mainly by the murderous expression on her face. Also, it was around 3 in the morning, and generally, people are not summoned at that time of morning for anything good. Bring me Urahara right now, and I don't care if you have to force him to come. Yoruichi told her. The girl opened her mouth to speak, but was cut off. Don't even think about asking me why, Soi Fan, or I swear to Kami I'll make you run laps around the Saraite till you drop. Do I make myself clear? Soi Fan gulped and said, Hi. She then quickly bowed and left without saying another word. Yoruichi watched them scramble off. After a moment, she got out bed, her anger causing her to crumple the note still in her hand. Why Naruto, why? She said, fighting the urge to destroy everything in sight while she started to get dressed. 10 minutes later, the doors to Yoruichi's room slid open and Soi Fan quickly shoved Urahara in. She didn't want to stick around to witness Yoruichi's wrath. Urahara stumbled in and quickly regained his balance. He gave Yoruichi a dark look. So Yoruichi love, what was so urgent that your lieutenant forced me to come see you? Urahara asked the question, even though he already knew the reason for his summons. Flashback begins. Naruto was standing in front of Urahara's lab doors and taking several deep breaths to calm himself down. After he was calm enough to deal with the situation, he entered the lab and saw Urahara sitting in his chair, reading some papers. What can I do for you this early in the morning, Naruto? Urahara asked without looking up from his papers. I came to get one of those gigai you've been making so I can go to the human world immediately. Naruto replied in a calm but serious tone. Now Urahara glanced up from his papers to look sharply at Naruto. You're joking, right? Naruto just shook his head. Urahara raised an eyebrow. Well, can you at least explain why? He asked. Naruto sighs and starts to explain about Aizen, leaving out the part about the black orb. Damn it, Shinji was right after all about Aizen. Urahara exclaimed. So what are you going to do now? I mean, once you get to the human world. There was a moment of silence, and then Naruto replied, when I get there I'm going to find somewhere quiet to train where the Soul Society can't find me. I see, was Urahara's reply. They both stood there in contemplative silence for a few minutes until Urahara abruptly stood up and said, all right then, I will give you the one that I just finished. It can hide all traces of Ryutsu. Urahara walked over to the other end of his lab to get the Gigai, and came back with two things. Here is the Gigai and a mod soul in case one of the hollows attacks you or you run afoul of one. Naruto thanked him and took the pill-like substance and the soul pager. He carefully examined what Urahara gave him. Why did you give me a soul pager? Don't the enemies use them to track people down? Naruto frowned. Urahara laughed. That's not funny. The last thing I want is to leave and then get caught and sent back. Naruto said, becoming furious as Urahara continued to laugh. After a moment, Urahara pulled one of his hand fans out of nowhere and held it up to hide his mouth. The soul pager is for you so I can contact you or you can contact me in case something happens to you. I'm the only one who can trace that soul pager. Honestly, Naruto, did you really think I'd let you be caught by the enemy? Who do you think I am anyways? Hey, thanks for this. Well, I'll see you on the flip side. Naruto said. He began to walk away, but stopped after a few steps and looked back at Urahara. Oh yes, before I forget. If you even think about telling Yoruichi about what happened here tonight, I'll come back and kick your ass. Sure, whatever you say. Urahara said with a nervous laugh. Flashback ends. Yoruichi's eyebrow twitched. Urahara involuntarily tensed. Uh-oh, here it comes. How can you be so happy at a time like this? She whispered, but Urahara still heard her. Right before Urahara could reply, Yoruichi slammed into the wall behind him. Where is he? She asked him, her voice rising with each word. I have no id. He was cut off when Yoruichi grabbed his cane and unsheathed his Zanpakuto and placed it between his legs. I'm not going to ask you again, where is Naruto? Yoruichi yelled as she moved his sword closer to little Urahara. As for the said person, he was sweating bullets by now. Yoruichi, you have to be kid. Once again, he was cut off when the sword slowly inched up his legs. Right when they touched his pants, Urahara closed his eyes and yelled out. He's at our secret training grouds. The next thing he heard was the sound of his sword hitting the floor, followed by a palpable silence. Opening his eyes to find Yoruichi nowhere in sight, he sighed heavily. Man, she's freaking crazy. That was too close. I need a drink. I wonder if Rangaku is still out. He said to himself as he shunpo-ed to the nearest bar. Unbeknownst to Urahara and Yoruichi, hidden just outside the door listening to the entire exchange was Soi Fan. As soon as she was alone, she followed Yoruichi to the confrontation at the training grounds. Naruto had just finished opening his own Senkaimon, door to human world. He began to walk towards it but stopped when he heard a familiar voice. Where do you think you're fucking going? Yoruichi yelled at the top of her lungs. So Kazuki caved, did he? Huh, I wonder what you did to him this time. Naruto replied, I'm going to kill him the next time I see him, he thought. He sighed heavily. I'm going to the human world. You can't stop me, and you can't come with me. Why can't I come with you? Yoruichi asked him. Naruto stayed silent. Answer me. She was quickly becoming enraged. He remained silent. Yoruichi's anger broke. Answer me, god damn it. She yelled out as her eyes began to tear up. Yoruichi, look at how you're acting. What would you have done if I left before you got here? Naruto asked. His words seemed to deflate her. She was quiet for a moment before replying. I don't know what I would do, but it would kill me if you left without me. Yoruichi said. Her eyes were still wet. Now think how Soy Fan would act if both the people she looked up to just disappeared and became wanted criminals. She would be crushed not only to lose a teacher but someone who is also her idol. You are the one person who treated her like a daughter. If she lost that, it would destroy her. She would close herself off and let nobody in just so she cannot be hurt like that again. That is why you have to stay behind. Naruto told her. But Naru, she was interrupted by a now raging Naruto. Listen to me, Yoruichi. I know what I'm leaving behind. Naruto's eyes flashed dangerously for a moment before he calmed down. He sighed and ran a hand through his messy hair. You're not thinking things through. Let's say I stayed here, right? The worst case scenario is me being executed on Sokyoko Hill. If you're freaking out here simply because I'm leaving, then how would you feel if you lost me forever? He paused, giving her time to let it sink in. Now think of what I lose if I go to the human world. All the people precious to me, the place I now call home, and, most of all, I lose the one person that could fall in love with a complete idiot like me. I know it is hard to give up the people you love, trust me, I know how it feels. This will be the second time that this happens to me. He whispered the last part to himself. I don't care. All I want is to be with. Her sentence hung unfinished when Naruto shunpo'd behind her and knocked her out by hitting her in the back of the neck. I'm sorry, Yoruichi, but I had to do that. I just hope you can forgive me, again. He then gently lowered her inert body to the ground. Then he reached up to remove his necklace, the one Tsunade had given him, and put it around her neck. He looked at her tenderly for one long, lingering moment. Finally, he got up, and looked off to his right. Soy Fan, I know you're there, so you can come out now. Naruto informed her. The young woman appeared in front of him. Her eyes were glaring daggers at the ground. Sensei. Soy Fan replied. Naruto could tell she was angry about something and he had a clue about what it was. I take it you heard our little conversation. It was a statement, not a question. Naruto saw the girl nod slightly. He sighed quietly. Look, Soy Fan, don't get mad about what Yoruichi said. He began only for Soy Fan to cut him off. She basically flat out said she didn't care about leaving me, and you expect me not to be angry. What the hell, sensei? She yelled out in anger, fighting the tears that threatened to spill from her watery eyes. It hurts knowing that the one person you look up to doesn't even care about you. Naruto could feel how hurt she was, so he got on one knee and slowly reached out to cup her delicate jaw. He tilted her head up so she was looking directly into his eyes. Now you listen here. You know as much as I do, Yoruichi didn't mean what she said. She was just too caught up in her emotions to think straight. Naruto reassured her. I see. Her voice sounded normal enough, but Naruto could still tell Soy Fan was still not convinced. How about I tell you a little secret? Naruto said as he stood up and offered her a hand up. A secret? She asked as they both stood up. She quickly brushed off some dirt on the bottom of her shirt. Well, Yoruichi will probably kill me if I told you this, but when it's just Yoruichi and me, all she can talk about is how much stronger you are now compared to when she first met you. She also told me that if you keep up your training in due time you could take over her spot as captain of Squad 2 and every other one of her positions, except Shunshin, since she would never give up that title even if hell froze over. Naruto told her. She said all that? You're not just saying it to make me feel better? She asked with a hopeful gleam in her eyes. Yes, I'm telling you the truth. He said as he ruffled her hair, much to her chagrin. Sensei, how many times do I have to tell you not to do that? She grumbled as she reached up to fix her hair, but she was smiling now. 4,359 times and still counting. He told her with a smile. You actually count how many times I said that? She looked at him in disbelief. Yeah, was I not supposed to? He asked. How am I going to know if I don't keep track? Just forget it. But are you actually leaving? She asked, changing the subject back to what was important. Damn, I was hoping she would forget. Naruto lowered his head, so his bangs were shadowing his eyes. Yes. Why? What could make you? one of the strongest Shinigami in the Seraite, run off to the world of the living. Soy Fan asked him. I wish I could tell you, but I should get going. He told her. But sensei, she began to say, but she quickly fell silent when Naruto placed a hand on her shoulder. I know. Just ask Yoruichi later, okay? Oh, and speaking of her, I'm going to need you to take her back home, alright? Hi, sensei. She replied. Her head was down, but she quickly snapped back up when she saw Naruto put some kind of scroll in front of her face. Take it, he told her as she looked at it curiously. What is it and what is it for? She asked, confused as to why he was giving it to her. It's a scroll to a place where I keep all of the Kido spells I developed, and it's also the instructions of a very special technique that can rival and surpass Yoruichi's Shunpo speed if you can master it. I have even beaten her in a game of tag with that very same technique. I was going to give you it when I had the chance to sneak back for a bit, but I think now is a good time since I won't be able to train you anymore. Naruto informed her. Soy Fan snatched it from his hand in a blink of an eye, and a moment later Naruto's words registered in her brain. A very special technique that can rival and surpass Yoruichi's Shunpo speed, if you can master it. I have even beaten her in a game of tag with that very same technique. Wait, did you just say you beat Lady Yoruichi in a game of tag? Soy Fan asked. Yeah, but she doesn't want me telling anybody, so don't tell her I told you. If you do, she'll kill me for sure. Naruto told her. She nodded her consent in keeping the secret. Now give me your hand. He told her as he brought out a kunai. Soy Fan hesitated at first but gave him her hand and regretted it as he took the kunai, then cut one of her fingers. She cried out in pain as he squeezed her finger and let a drop of blood smear onto his hand. He grabbed one of the scrolls and unfurled it, showing Soy Fan that it was blank on the inside. She then witnessed Naruto flash through a complicated series of hand signals. Now put your hand on the scroll. She did what she was told. To her surprise, the scroll started to glow brightly. After a moment, the glow slowly dissipated. What was that? Soy Fan asked. I was just getting your blood sample so you could use the scroll. You see, this is a special kind of scroll. It only reveals the contents to those who have my permission to use it by taking a drop of blood from the one intended to use it. I made it so only I could see what is inside it, initially. Then I altered it to accept the blood from others. What I did just now was put your blood sample so you could see it also, and now all you have to do is open the scroll and swipe your blood across it and you can read what it says. Naruto informed her. Well, all you had to do was ask for some blood. You didn't have to cut my finger like that, she said, sucking on the cut finger trying to stop the bleeding. Yeah, sorry about that. I think it's time for me to go now before it's too late. Naruto said abruptly. Alright, but you have to promise that you will come back. Sure, I'll try my hardest. If Yoruichi gives you too much trouble, just call her this. He said as he moved closer to her and whispered something in her ear. Why that? Soy Fan asked. She raised an eyebrow at him curiously. She hates it when someone else calls her that. Naruto told her. If she hates it, then why would I call her that? She asked him. Just trust me. Well, it's time for me to leave, so please take care of yourself and Yoruichi for me. He said as he ruffled her hair. Damn it, I told you not to do that. Soy Fan yelled at Naruto as he ran to the Senkaimon. That's 4,360 times now. Naruto yelled back as he jumped into the Senkaimon. She watched him disappear. Several minutes passed before Soy Fan looked at Yoruichi. I'm not sure I can even carry her. Soy Fan whined, as she carefully picked up her mentor and began the long trek back home. It was morning. The sun was up and its rays shined through the open window that was used by Naruto and Soy Fan the previous evening. Unfortunately, that window was also the closest window to the bed, so the sun was getting into her face, much to Yoruichi's displeasure. She turned over onto her side to shield herself from the sun, trying to get back to sleep in her nice comfortable bed. That was when she noticed that she was in bed. Suddenly the memories of the previous evening washed over her. Opening her eyes, she shot up into a sitting position as she realized she was back in her room. Looking around, she noticed Soy Fan in a nearby chair sleeping. Soy Fan must have carried me all the way here, but if she did, it means she must have followed me when I went to waylay Naruto, and that means she knows where the secret base, thought as she mentally slapped herself for being careless. Yoruichi tried to get up, but she felt a sudden spasm of pain in her back. Pushing it aside, she got up so she could wake up Soy Fan to find out what had happened to Naruto. As she got close, she could hear Soy Fan mumble something. Moving right up beside her, she leaned in closer so she could make out what the young girl was saying. Oh crap, I just dropped Lady Yoruichi. Well, that explains why my back hurts. What if she gets mad at me? Oh, I know. I'll just call her the name Naruto-sensei told me. What was it again? Oh yeah, Kaneko Harem. Her eyes widened in shock. What did she just say? Yoruichi thought to herself, not believing what she was hearing. As if Soy Fan could read minds, she said it again. Kaneko Harem. That's strange. Why would sensei call Lady Yoruichi Kitty Princess? It's not like she can transform into a cat or anything. Her mumbling now turned unintelligible as Soy Fan fell asleep again. By now, Yoruichi was pissed that Naruto had told someone, and not just anyone. He had told the one person who was always around her. The nickname he gave to her the first time he realized she could turn into a cat. Wait until the next time I see you, Naruto, I'm going to kill you. 10 years had passed, and so far, everything was going well. The Soul Society had never found Naruto, and the Hollows never detected a trace of him. However, that all soon changed when Urahara got one last message from Naruto, and all it said was, "Something has been happening to me. I need your help." Urahara did not know what to do. Naruto was clearly in some sort of trouble. After a couple of minutes of pondering, he sprang into action. He quickly logged onto his computer and connected his soul pager to it. He had a program installed, which he had invented, that enabled him to track the location of Naruto's soul pager. As he waited for the program to load, he thought of the problem at hand. I can't just leave the Soul Society without a reason. They would be suspicious. I could leave and go help Naruto, but what did he mean by something has been happening to him? This is very odd indeed. Agitated, Urahara got up and began restlessly pacing his office. A moment later, there was a beeping noise from the computer, snapping him from his thoughts. The program must have found his soul pager, he said as he headed towards his desk. He glanced at page on the screen, quickly scanning its contents. It says it's located in a forest 5 miles from Karakura town. Why is he there? It's so far from the city. The Gigai I gave him hides Ryutsu, so he should be able to stay in town. I'll just have to ask him when I find him, he thought to himself. As he was leaving the 12th Division barracks, he suddenly felt Shinji's Ryutsu spike looking over towards the direction from where he sensed the sudden change. His eyes narrowed in thought. This isn't good, he said with little time to spare. He shun-PO'd away. Shinji Hirako, Love Aikawa and Rojiro Odoribushi, aka Rose, alongside with Hashigan Ushado and Lisa Yadomaru were all sent to the Rukongai by head captain Yamamoto. They were there to find Kensai Mugaruma, captain of the 9th Division, along with his lieutenant Mashiro Kuna and his subordinates. As the group headed forward, Shinji could not help thinking back to what the head captain said to them and once again wondered how this could happen. Shinji, Love, Rose, Hachi and Lisa all rushed towards the captain's meeting room, located in the 1st Division barracks. Upon their arrival, the 1st Division Lieutenant Chojiro Sarakai greeted them. The captain commander is waiting, please follow me, Chojiro said. Turning to open the doors, he walked into the room, and the others followed in an orderly fashion. Head captain, Captains Hirako, Aikawa, and Odoribushi, along with Lieutenants Ushado and Yadomaru have arrived. Chojiro announced to the room at large. Thank you, Lieutenant Chojiro, you dismissed, he told his lieutenant. Hi, head captain. He gave a departing bow and left, closing the doors behind him. Once the door closed, the head captain began to speak. You all must be wondering why you are all here. He paused for a moment, seeing nods from everyone. I have called you five for a very important mission that I'm about to give you. By now you all must have heard about the disappearances that have been going on in the Rukongai. Well, not just civilians who've been disappearing, we have had reports of Shinigamis missing as well. Recruits from seated officers, and even some of our best Omnitsukido squads have not been seen, nor heard from since they were given their missions. They have either gone missing or disappeared as well. Since we have no leads as to whom, or what is behind this, the 9th Division took it upon themselves to solve this disturbance. Earlier today, Captain Mugaruma, along with his lieutenant and several of his seated officers, went to investigate the latest disappearance. I had ordered them to send hourly reports on their finding. As of right now, they have failed to send a report in the last 3 hours. To make matters worse, I was informed not just 10 minutes ago that their Ryutsu have disappeared from our indicators. Sorry to interrupt, head captain sir, but what you're saying is that because their Ryutsu disappeared, you're thinking the same thing that happened to the other victims has happened to them as well? Shinji asked. You are correct, Captain Hirako, and that is precisely why I picked you five for this mission. These people are close friends of yours. I know that you will get down to the bottom of this and find out what has happened to them. Therefore, with that said, the briefing is done. You all know what to do. I'm counting on you. Hi. They all yelled in unison. Very well. Just remember to proceed with caution. You're dismissed. The head captain said as he slammed his can on the floor. Let's hope everyone is alright. Shinji snapped out of his thoughts when he felt two Ryutsu. One was spiked but the other was decreasing. The group came to a sudden halt. You sense that too? Shinji asked the group as he looked over his shoulder. Everyone was nodding. It felt like Kensai's Ryutsu. Love said. But it feels like there's a hollow Ryutsu mixed in with his. Hachi added. And the other Ryutsu, it feels like Hiyori. Lisa said. But why is she there? Everyone paused for a moment, and then suddenly they heard Shinji yell. Damn it. A split second later Shinji was gone, having shunpioed to Hiyori's location. The group looked puzzled, and then Love piped up. That's right. I forgot that Urahara had sent her here to get a sample for research. We'd better go to help him. Then they all shunpioed after Shinji. Kensai. It's me, said a very short, brown-eyed, blonde-haired girl with pigtails that hung down to her shoulders. Hiyori was running away from a hollow-feed Kensai. The hollow-feed Kensai was a large, muscular, and bulky humanoid with armored hands and skeletal feet, with several thick cylindrical protrusions on his back and forearms. The cylinders on his back seemed to make him hunch over. It's Hiyori. She was still trying to reason with him, despite the fact that has had lost all of his humanity and was nothing more than a monster now. Hiyori suddenly stopped to see where he was. She gasped as he appeared right in front of her, his fist pulled back, ready to strike. There was a loud roar from Kensai. She closed her eyes, bracing for the attack, but there was only the feeling of her shirt collar being tugged almost violently. Opening her eyes, she was shocked to see Kensai's fist inches away from her face. His punch had had so much force it made a crater about 5 feet deep and 10 feet wide from where she was just standing seconds ago. Hiyori felt herself being placed back onto solid ground, and she turned to thank her savior. To her complete surprise, Shinji stood there. That was too close. You owe me one, Shinji said to her, and then looked past her towards the crater. It was about that time when Love and the others showed up. Is she okay? Love asked Shinji. Yeah, she's fine, he replied. Love then turned toward the crater just in time to see a hollow-feed Kensai calmly walking out. So is this creature really Kensai? Asked Rose. I don't know, but if we don't draw our swords we will be as good as dead. Shinji plainly said. On cue, everybody but Hiyori pulled out their swords and got ready to strike. When Kensai let out a loud roar, Shinji quickly picked up Hiyori and moved to a safer place. He then placed her back down but held her so she could not get away as he observed the fight. Love was trying to engage Kensai. Don't. Stop. That's Kensai. Don't attack him. Hiyori pleaded with him. Listen to me, Hiyori. If that is Kensai, we have to fight him or he'll kill us. Shinji told her. Meanwhile, Love waited as he watched Kensai calmly walk towards him. So what do you think is going on, Rose? He asked. I don't know, but that Ryutsu I sensed earlier. It felt like Kensai, Rose said. But he has a hollow mask on. I wonder if he is a hollow. He wondered. Suddenly, the air felt tense. It was the start of a battle. Love and the others drew their weapons when they heard Kensai's loud roar. Love dashed at the hollow-feed Kensai. When he was close enough to strike, Kensai suddenly disappeared and reappeared right behind him, catching him off guard by his speed. Kensai took advantage of Love's temporary confusion to strike Love's right shoulder with a powerful energized punch. This resulted in a huge cloud of dust that covered both of them. Love! Rose shouted. Suddenly Kensai shot out of the smoke, and as the dust cleared, everyone saw that Love had somehow managed to withstand the attack, though the right side of his garment was destroyed and he was suffering some minor burns. With that strength, he's sure Kensai alright. Love seemed perfectly calm. In the background, Hiyori was begging them not to attack him, and Shinji was stating that they had to stop him if they wanted to survive. Is there a way to stop him without killing him? Rose asked. There is more than one way to stop him. Lisa said. If we can cut his tendons he won't be able to move, so aim there. She moved into a fighting position. Rose nodded his head and the two lunged at Kensai. Once Rose got close enough, he jumped and did a downward slash, only for Kensai to block with his arm. Sparks flew when his Zanpakuto made contact and Kensai just shoved him back. Then Kensai did a back flip to dodge a vertical slash aimed at his calf muscle from Lisa. Rose then shun-PO'd behind Kensai using opportunity to attack his knee. Rose was shocked to see his sword slice right through his leg, only for it to turn out to be a phantom image of Kensai. Rose then looked over his shoulder just in time to see Kensai's fist charging right at him. Jumping out of the way at the last second, Rose moved back, getting some quick distance from Kensai. He quickly scanned the area and found Lisa and Love standing nearby in their defensive fighting positions. Suddenly Lisa screamed, and Rose focused his attention on her. Rose, look out! She yelled out, but it was too late. Before he could even put up a defense, Rose was slammed to the ground by a kick from a hollow-feed Mashiro. Meanwhile, all Shinji could do was try to keep Hiyori away of the fight and watch. While observing the intense battle between Love, Rose, Lisa, and Kensai, he could see they were getting nowhere. The battle was rapidly becoming a stalemate. Kensai's skin is too hard since he's part hollow now, so there is no real way of stopping him without going Shikai and hurting him. The only other way to stop him is to use a high-level Kido spell, but the only person who can do that is he was interrupted from his thoughts when he heard Lisa yell for Rose to watch out. Shinji was now paying attention to the scene before him. He winced as he saw Rose getting slammed into by a hollow-feed-looking Mashiro. In his shock and rage, Shinji did the only thing that he could think of. Hey Mashiro, over here, he yelled to get her attention. It worked. Suddenly Mashiro was running towards them with blinding speed. She was getting ready for another kick. In a split second, Mashiro was in front Shinji with a leg pulled back. She then swung it towards him, aiming for his head. With only a split second to spare, Shinji brought his Zanpakuto up to block her kick while still keeping a hold of a now scared Hiyori. Her shin met his blade, causing his feet to shift a little. Shinji quickly regained his footing, and was able to force her back enough to regroup for the next attack. Suddenly there was a rumbling noise, followed by a voice. Walls of iron sand. A priestly pagoda. Glowing ironclad fireflies. Standing upright, silent to the end. Bakudo number 75. Goktekken. 5 incredibly tall and thick pillars, which were connected to each other by chains, formed seemingly out of midair, and fell from directly above Mashiro to pin her to the ground. Walking over towards them was the owner of the voice. It was none other than Hachi. He had a triumphant look on his face. Thanks, Hachi, Shinji said. You're welcome. Well, I must say I'm impressed with you guys. Your shunpo skills are really coming along. You lot got here pretty damn quick. Observing the battle that was still taking place, Hachi noticed that Kensai was rapidly overpowering the group. Hachi raised his palm, and faced Kensai. Bakudo number 63. Seijo Sabaku. Locking bondage stripes. Hachi yelled out while closing his hand into a fist. A yellow energy shot out of his palm, quickly morphing into the shape of a rope. It ensnared Kensai. There. That should hold him, but do you know WH? Hachi started but broke off when Kensai broke free from the Bakudo spell. That's impossible. No one has ever broken free from a level 63 Bakudo spell by physical strength alone. Hachi was in utter shock for a moment and sat down heavily on the ground. Now that Kensai was free again, he went after Lisa. With his speed, he was too fast for her to do anything, but she still tried to raise a last-second defense. He appeared right in front of her ready to strike, but was interrupted by a Kido spell from Rose that hit him square in the back. Wow, Kensai. I didn't think you were that weak to attack a lady. That's way below you, Rose said. His remark seemed to piss off Kensai, and he turned to face Rose and got ready to lunge at him, but he was stopped by Hachi using a Bakudo number 99. Kin. For a moment, there was dead silence. Then Shinji spoke. Wow, Hachi, you did a Bakudo 99 without the incantation. I'm impressed. But now, let's focus on the other matter. Do you think you can fix what happened to them? I can't fix what I don't know, he replied with a frown. At that moment, the group's attention was drawn towards Hiyori, who had started coughing. Hiyori, are you alright? Shinji asked her with a concerned look on his face. He grabbed her shoulders. Hachi, can you see what's wrong with her? He asked while the others started to run over to them to see what was wrong. Hachi then examined her, but before he could do anything, Hiyori spoke. Let me go. She choked out, hitting Shinji in the ribs and forcing him to let go of her. Hiyori, please tell us what's wrong. Shinji said. I'm fine. She replied, then broke into a coughing fit. She coughed up some white liquid. I would hardly call that fin. Shinji started, but something cut him off. There was an odd squelching noise as a now hollow-feet Hiyori slashed him across the chest. Before anybody could register what had transpired, their vision went dark. Suddenly an unseen assailant attacked them. The only person who was conscious after the darkness lifted was Shinji. He blinked and saw everyone on the ground out cold. Looking around to see who or what attacked them, he found none other than Konami Tosen, Muguruma 5th seat, standing there with his Zanpakudo out. As there was blood dripping from the tip of it. Konami, how could you betray your own captain? He yelled. He was going to say more, but something in the background caught his eye and silenced him. It was the arrival of Sosuke Aizen and Jin Ichimaru. He didn't betray anyone, Aizen stated in his usual calm voice. He was just faithfully following orders. Whose orders? My orders, he replied, never dropping the calm tone in his voice. Well, I'm not surprised, Shinji replied. Suddenly, everything seemed to make sense. Did you suspect something from me? Aizen questioned him. I did, right from the start. From the moment I saw you at the academy. There was something about you, something dangerous. You possess an untrustworthy aura. That was why I picked you to be in my squad as my lieutenant, so I could keep an eye on you. Shinji told him. I'm grateful that you went through all that trouble, just for me. Aizen said with a smile. What do you mean? Shinji asked, puzzled with Aizen's response. What I mean is, since you didn't trust me, you didn't suspect a thing. But I already told you a week ago that I knew you were up to something. Ooh, I would have never known. You see, I haven't been around you for the last couple of months. He then began to tell him of his Zanpakudo's power. So therefore, I tricked you and made you think I was walking around with you. If you were as close to me as other captains or to their lieutenants, you would have been able to tell the difference between my doppelganger and me. If it makes you feel any better, everyone in the Seraite is under my Shikai's ability. However, he trailed off. There was only one who figured its power, and that one person is none other than Naruto Uzumaki. So you were the one who was behind his betrayal. I guess Urahara was right after all. What do you mean, Urahara was right? Aizen asked, a little surprised that Urahara knew something about him. Yeah, he told me that Naruto engaged you and then you framed him, so he had to leave or die if he stayed. Shinji replied in response to the question. But he didn't tell me about your Shikai's power. He must have thought I'd do something I would regret. As Shinji got to his feet, he started coughing violently. He wiped his mouth, and his eyes widened in shock as he saw the white substance clinging onto his hands. What is this? He asked. The others were also now coughing up white liquid, but it was forming on their faces. It's like it's forming some kind of mask, he thought. Then the answer hit him like a ton of bricks. It was you. You made Kensai and Mashiro morph into their current state. You caused all this trouble. What did you do to us? He asked Aizen. What I did? Well, you could say I was doing a little experiment. I needed to know what would happen if I used this on others. Aizen brought out what looked like some kind of orb. This is just an imitation, but it has almost the same qualities as the real one. What is it and what does it do? Shinji asked him. It's capable of many things, but the most important thing is that it can break the barrier between the Shinigamis and Hollows. Before I can use it on myself, I had to see what would happen if it was used on others. As for what it is, that's none of your concern. So you used that thing on us to test it before you used it on yourself? Shinji asked him. How could you be so cruel? This whole situation is your fault, and you don't even care. No, it's your fault. Seeing a confused look on Shinji's face, he continued. It's like I said earlier, if you were close to me like the other captains or with their lieutenants, you could have stopped me. However, you weren't, so those who are becoming hollows as we speak are in that state because of you. Now Shinji was mad, not just for what Aizen did to everyone, but also because he dared to blame him for what had happened. Gripping his Zanpakuto until his knuckles turned white, he lunged at his lieutenant ready to strike him down, only for Konami to block his attack and force him back. Konami, get out of my way. This is between Aizen and me. I won't let someone like you to disrespect or touch Aizen-sama. Fine, have it your way. I'll take you down first then. Aizen, he yelled again, lunging at Konami. Konami, seeing this coming, got into a defensive stance in order to block Shinji's attack. However, he was caught off guard when Shinji shun-PO'd behind him and went for a downward vertical slash aimed for his back. Shinji was thinking he had gotten the upper hand for being a captain and thus being faster and stronger than most seated officers. But Konami did the same thing and shun-PO'd behind him and attacked the same way but faster, catching him off guard. Konami's Zanpakuto slashed across Shinji's back, making him wince at the agonizing pain now shooting up his back. He got into a defensive position and tried to regroup. Damn it, how's he faster than me? Wait a minute. No, he's not faster, I've just gotten slower. Shinji said to himself. It must be because of this hollowification. It's taking more out of me than I thought. What's the matter, Captain Hirako? You seem to be troubling over something. Konami's tone was mocking. It's nothing you have to worry about, because it won't make a difference. The outcome will still be the same. I will beat you, Shinji stated while bringing his Zanpakuto up and pointing it at Konami. Hado number 31, Shakuho. Shot of red fire. A small red orb started to form at the tip of Shinji's Zanpakuto, pouring more Ryutsu into the spell than needed. The red orb then shot off, expanding to become a 5-foot-wide fireball. Soaring straight towards Konami. With the said Hado spell sailing towards Konami at a rate too fast to dodge, he raises his Zanpakuto and yelled out a counter-attack. Bakudo number 39, Enkozen. Arc Shield, a circular spinning dull yellow energy disc of condensed Ryutsu formed in front of him. Boom. Shinji's Hado spell had collided with Konami's shield, forcing him back. However, Shinji kept his ground. With the distraction the explosion caused, he was going to charge Konami, but he stopped as he spotted something shiny in the corner of his eye. What the? His eyes widened in shock, as he looked down to see a blade sticking out of his lower abdomen. His eyes followed the trail of the blood to see who had stabbed him. His gaze finally settled on the only person in Seraite to have silver hair. It was Jin Ichimaru. To make matters worse, Jin was waving at him and giving him a look with his famous squinted eyes and fox-like grin of his. Now, I can't have you go and injure one of my teammates, can I? Jin said. Before Shinji could say anything, Jin retracted his sword from within him and made the cut deeper. Blood splashed onto the ground, making a very gruesome puddle at Shinji's feet. Damn him. Single quote. Falling over, he used the last bit of strength left in him to stab his Zanpakuto into the ground to keep him from completely passing out. I cannot keep going, I am at my limit and this damn holification is helping much either. He thought. You know, maybe I should keep Hiyori as a little test subject. Aizen mused aloud. His calm tone caused Shinji to snap. Aizen. Shinji yelled as loud as he could. As he prepared to kick off the ground, he started into another coughing fit, just as Hiyori had done not long ago. This time he couldn't keep himself standing as he finally fell to the ground, coughing up more of the white substance. It then started to form some kind of bone-like mask over his face. Damn it. I can't move, Shinji thought, as he was still coughing. Aizen meanwhile, was taking a mental note to what was happening to his so-called captain. I thank you, Captain, that I was able to get under your skin so easily. Your heightened emotional state actually makes the holification proceed at a much faster rate. Konami, go ahead and kill him, he ordered. With the order given, Konami gripped his Zanpakuto and walked over to the now prone Shinji. Without any hesitation, he lifted his blade above his head and brought it down. Nake. Benihime. A crimson-colored shield suddenly appeared and blocked Konami's attack. Jumping back to Aizen's side, Konami sheathed his sword. Standing in front of them was none other than Kazuki Urahara and Tessai Tsukubishi. It looks like I arrived just in time, Urahara said in a serious manner. Ah, Captain Urahara. It's so good to see you, Aizen said, putting a smile on his face. Cut the act, Aizen. I was listening to everything you said. Good, that will keep me from repeating myself. So how can I help you with? And do make it quick, I really must get going. Tell me, what do you intending on doing when you get a hold of the Hogyoku? What I intend on doing? That's a good question. What does one do when they obtain great power? It depends on the person, but why don't you enlighten me on what you're going to do, Aizen? It is quite simple if you think about it. If you have all the power in the world, you do what everyone would do if given the opportunity. You become a god. So you want to become a god? Yes. You see, I want to rule all three worlds, but to archive my dream I must become a god and replace the old world with a new world. My world. So you're saying that you're going to change the world into your vision? Urahara asked, not liking where this was going. That's precisely what I was thinking. But that doesn't explain why you got rid of Naruto. Urahara was trying to figure out where Naruto fit into all of this. It's not making any sense. My reason for getting rid of Naruto is simple. He knew too much about my plans. Long story short, I had to get rid of him before he became a nuisance. But there's more, isn't there? Urahara asked. He had a feeling something else was going on. So then you knew as well. Naruto was hiding something very important about him. Every captain suspected something about him when he first showed up and began training at the Shinorijutsuin Shinigami Academy, Urahara said. That's nothing new. But have you actually seen his power? The power he holds could even match the gods, Aizen said, replacing his calm voice with a more serious tone. That's the real reason I had to get rid of him. But I will obtain his power by taking it or forcing him to join me. He whispered the last part to himself. Come Jin, Konami, we will take our leave now. Turning to leave, they heard Tessai yell out. Hado number 88, Hiryugen Kazoku Shintenraiho. Flying dragon striking heaven shaking thunder cannon. A gigantic beam of electrical and spiritual energy shot out of Tessai's palm and headed toward Aizen. Just before it hit, Aizen used Bakudo 81 Danku. Splitting void, a large rectangular wall-like barrier formed in front of Aizen and stopped the Hado spell that was being sent towards him. Aizen, Jin, and Konami used the chaos from the aftermath of the Hado as a chance to escape. Since Shinji and the rest of the group was more important than chasing after Aizen, Urahara and Tessai turned their attention to Shinji, who was now unconscious and still bleeding profusely. It looks like Aizen used something to turn them into hollows. Urahara stated as Tessai started to heal Shinji. Tessai, when you're done healing him, please go gather up the others. Yes, Captain. Tessai replied. It took some time for Tessai to heal Shinji, his wounds were pretty bad. When he was done, he retrieved the rest of the group and brought them over to Urahara and Shinji. While Tessai was busy doing this, Urahara was trying to think of what kind of item Aizen could have used to force the hollow transformations. The only thing that might be able to do that is, no. There's no possible way it can be that. If it is, we're all doomed. He thought, as Tessai finally brought the last of the group over. So is there anything that you can do, Captain Urahara? There's one thing I can try, but I'm not sure if it will work, and we need to get to my lab ASAP. Trying to adequately care for everyone at this point is going to take too long and I'm not sure if we have enough time. He told Tessai. If time's running out then I'll have to use that Kido spell. Tessai then proceeded to move past the Shinigamis to make sure they were all touching a point on his body. He gestured for Urahara to come closer. Grab hold of my arm. Tessai told him. Urahara reached out, touched his arm, and then watched as Tessai placed his pointer and middle fingers on his forehead. Shunken Ito. Instant transmission. There was a flash of light, and then the group disappeared. They reappeared in Urahara's personal lab. Urahara spotted the nearest waste bin and proceeded to vomit into it. You'll do that the first couple of times until your body gets used to it. Tessai told him while chuckling. What the hell was that? Urahara asked weakly. His legs were shaking, so he went to sit in his favorite chair. Immediately he felt relief. That was one of the old forbidden Kido spells. It lets you travel anywhere you have been before. They say that if you are strong enough you can travel to any distance no matter how far. Also, just by sensing anyone's Ryutsu, you can teleport to their exact location. Tessai explained to him. And may I ask how you know that Kido spell? Would you believe me if I told you it was Naruto? Naruto. How did he learn a forbidden Kido? Urahara yelled out. I wonder what else that boy is keeping from me. Well, he told me that he'd snuck into the 1st Division barracks, and, as he puts it, borrowed the list of forbidden Kidos and made his own copies of them. That's Naruto for you, he never was one to follow rules. Let's just never do that again. While waiting for his stomach to settle, Urahara started to explain to Tessai on what he had planned on doing. Alright, now that I feel a bit better, here's what I need you to do. First, you need to place everyone who is infected in the room across the hall, there is more room there. Second, prepare a Ryutsu, and sound-resistant Kido barriers. Lastly, when the barriers are up, you may have to prepare yourself to restrain them. Once his orders were given, Urahara stood up and walked into an adjacent room. Tessai did as told, and brought the others to the next room, and carefully prepared the 2 Kido barriers. When he was done, Urahara came into the room. Is everything ready? Yes, but what are you plan on to doing to them? Tessai asked, curious as to why he had to get 2 different barriers ready. If Aizen did what I think he did, I'm going to have to use this. Urahara produced a small purplish orb. I'm positive that Aizen somehow snuck into my lab and made a copy of my device. What does it do? Tessai asked him. It can do many things, but one of the most important aspects of this orb is that it can destroy the barrier between Shinigamis and hollows. When I realized what Aizen had done I started thinking, If Aizen used a fake one to change them into hollows, why not use the real one to reverse the process? That makes sense, Tessai said, still a little confused. Alright Tessai, once I start the process, place a restraining keto on them. If I am correct, this process will be one of the most painful things they've ever endured. Imagine getting surgery without any anesthesia. Ouch, was all Tessai could say. Urahara used the Hogyoku on them. Then Tessai used a Bakudo number 63, Seijo Sabaku, to restrain them. The process of trying to reverse the hollowification was unimaginable. Both Urahara and Tessai had to wear earplugs. Tessai had to in order to keep the keto barriers up. However, Urahara wore some because he could not take the screaming anymore. It took about an hour and a half for the screaming to finally stop. With so much strain on their bodies, they all fell unconscious. Urahara then went to check on them and did not like what he saw. Damn it, it didn't work. All it was able to do was stop the hollowification. He yelled out. How much did it stop? Well, from what I could tell, they are still wearing hollow masks. However, Kensai and Mashiro at least reverted to only wearing masks. They were further along with the hollowification than the others, so this is a good sign that the reversal works, but I guess this is how far my device can stop it. I am not even sure if it's permanent. It could start over. The old man in Central 46 never allowed testing on Shinigamis. They labeled it forbidden, Urahara told him, looking around to check what time was. It's already 3 in the morning. He sighed audibly. Well, there isn't much we can do now but let them rest. Both of them left the room, went back to the lab, and sat down in silence for quite some time thinking about what had happened and what to do next. Finally, Tessai decided to break the silence. So what are you going to do now? To tell you the truth, I wasn't expecting this to happen. Well, no one did. True, but before this happened I was on my way to the world of the living. What could you possibly make you want go to the world of the living? Tessai asked. Let's see how I can put this. Before Naruto left the Soul Society, I gave him 3 things: a Gigai, a Mod Soul, and a Soul Pager. I gave him a Soul Pager so we could keep in touch. I was informing him when they were taking academy students to the living world and telling him when they were out searching for him, and his status in the Soul Society. Stuff like that. Urahara sighed again and his face formed a serious expression. However, 10 years ago, Naruto sent me a message telling me that Ijuka's class hollows ambushed him, but he defeated them. He also said they would be back for him. At first, I was worried, but then I started to think. This is Naruto. He can hold himself against Kenpachi at full power. There was nothing to worry about. I was right. The last 10 years have gone by with no messages. Until tonight. A few hours ago, right before I went to get you, I got another message, which stated, and I quote, "Something has happened to me. I need your help." I could not figure it out. What could have happened? Then you guys sounded the alarm and the events tonight transpired. It was when we arrived back here that I had a hypothesis. When Naruto went to confront Aizen, they most likely engaged in battle. The way Aizen put it, he's seen Naruto's power, whatever it is. However, what if Naruto was too much for Aizen? If he had possessed the fake Hogyoku by then, which I'm now certain he did, Aizen most likely used it on him. So as I asked earlier, what do we do now? I don't know. Everything will eventually sort itself out, or at least I hope it will. In the meantime, I can't leave them here and let the Gote get a hold of them. Who knows what they would do to them? Before Tessai could ask another question, a cloaked figure suddenly appeared in the middle of the room. The cloaked figure looked at Urahara and lowered the hood to reveal herself as Yoruichi. Good, you guys are still here, she said. Lady Yoruichi. What seems to be the problem? Tessai asked. The word is out that Kazuki and you are going to be arrested for the use of a forbidden Kido spell and the illegal experiments on fellow Shinigamis. Just what the hell did you do? No, forget it. You do not enough time to explain. Get what you need and meet me at the underground training grounds, she told them. But what about Shinji and the rest of the group? Urahara asked her. Just leave them to me. I will take them and wait for you. So where are they? Urahara told her where they were resting and Yoruichi went to retrieve them. A moment later, before Urahara had even moved to get up, Yoruichi called out to him. Oh, by the way, please bring about 10 Ryutsu blocking Gigais. We're going to need them. Urahara grabbed the requested items and a few necessities, and together he and Tessai shunpioed towards the training grounds. The moment Urahara and Tessai arrived on the grounds, Urahara got a smack on the head, and Tessai got one of Yoruichi's death glares as she put her hands on her hips. Now that you're here, explain. She said in a tone that meant no excuses. Well, you see, I was on my way to the bar. Yoruichi and Tessai had sweat drops sliding down their heads. Urahara clearly didn't want to tell her he was really on his way to the living world to see Naruto. That's when I felt Shinji's Ryutsu spike. He then explains what had happened to Shinji, and how Aizen was behind it all. When he finished, Yoruichi was shaking her head and had a frown on her face. So Aizen did it again. First was Naruto. She heard Urahara snickering and shot him a death glare to shut him up. As I was saying, first it was Naruto, and then them. She indicated the still unconscious Shinigamis on the ground. Now he's framing you, and Tessai is being charged for using forbidden Kido spells. It figures Aizen would do something like this, but can I ask you something? Urahara said. What? Why are you helping us? If they found out you helped us escape, you could be put in prison or even executed. Yoruichi was silent a moment before replying. Firstly, you two are my best friends since we were kids, and second, how could you even ask me about the risks? I know you would do the very same thing if you were in my shoes. Urahara nodded in agreement. Also, someone once told me that those who break the rules are scum, but those who abandon their friends are worse than scum. Urahara smiled as he remembered Naruto saying those exact words to him once. I know if he was still here he would do everything in his power to save you right now, not just you, but every one of his precious people. But enough about Naruto, we will be able to see him once we get to the world of the living. Wait, you're coming with us? Urahara asked. Well, yes. I thought that was obvious. Yoruichi's tone held the slightest bit of impatience. Now come on, guys. We have to get going before they find us. But what about everything you have here? You are not just some ordinary Shinigami. You are a captain of the 2nd Division, commander of the Omnitsukido, Corrections Corps, and the Executive Militia. Hell, you're even the head of your clan and you're just going to throw it all away. Urahara exclaimed. Don't worry about me. I gave up all my titles the minute I saved you guys. It doesn't really matter what I do now. To tell you the truth, if Naruto didn't stop me 10 years ago, I would have left with him in a heartbeat. She then turned away from them to walk towards a boulder to lean on. Now that we are done talking, you can go ahead and open a Senkaimon so we can get the hell out of here. Why do I have to do it? Urahara complained. 1. I don't feel like it, and 2, because I said so. She ordered him with one of her trademark grins. Fine, I'll do it. He grumbled as he walked to an open area. Just be ready to leave when it's open. As they waited, Tessai used the opportunity to talk to Yoruichi. If I may, Lady Yoruichi, can I ask you a question? Just call me Yoruichi when we are alone. Lady, makes me sound old, but go ahead. Sorry, old habits die hard. However, regarding my question, what exactly are you going to do when we arrive in the human world? Are you going to stay with us, go on your own, or look for Naruto? He asked her. Tessai had a feeling he already knew the answer, but he was curious as to what her response would actually be. Yoruichi suddenly found an interest in a spot on the ground. She wouldn't look at him when she replied. At first I was going to find Naruto, but once he finds out that I'm leaving Soi Fan behind. There was sadness in her voice. Tessai gently interrupted her. I understand. You don't have to finish, but I think you are overreacting. Naruto is not that kind of person. Yes, he might be mad at first, but give him time and explain to him why you did what you did and I'm sure he'll understand. Now Yoruichi raised her eyes from the ground and met his gaze. She gave him a small smile. Thanks Tessai, I needed that. There. It's all done. Urahara informed them as he returned to the group. He noticed the sad look on Yoruichi's face. Did I miss something? No. It's nothing. So who is going to carry whom? She asked, not wanting to repeat what Tessai and she were saying. Why don't you carry Lisa and Hiyori? Tessai, you can carry Love and Hachi, and I will carry Shinji and Rose. Does that sound good to you guys? Urahara asked, getting nods from both of them. All right then, off we go. Exiting the Senkaimon, Yoruichi was the first to ask. So what do we do now? She felt more than a little lost, as it's been almost a century had passed since last she was in the living world. Well, for starters, we need to find someplace to hide them from the Gote 13 before they wake up. Urahara said. This needs to be our top priority. Who knows how long it will take them before they figure out that we left and start looking for us. Any ideas where to start looking, or is there a place you had in mind, Mr. Urahara? Tessai asked him. Well, if my memory serves me right, humans like to keep big houses in which they store things in. I think they call them warehouses or something, and they tend to leave some abandoned. If we could find one, we would probably be able to hide out there. Now, going a little off topic here, what's with the Mr. Urahara? He asked. Just being formal since we're no longer captains and there's no point to call you captain. Tessai answered. Whatever. Anyways, we should get going. The town has changed a lot since I've last been here, so finding a warehouse might take a while. The others nodded and they shun-po'd away. Unknown to the group, a dark figure was crouching in the shadows, listening to the whole exchange. He opened his eyes to reveal two crimson-colored eyes with black slits. So he came after all. But, why did he bring the others? Most specifically her. Why would he bring Yoruichi? I can't let her see me. Not like this. The shadow-covered figure said. Standing up from his crouching position, the clouds moved, letting the moon shine just enough light on the shadowed figure to reveal that he was wearing some kind of mask over his face. He stretched out what appeared to be wings, and then brought them back in to wrap around him like a robe cloak. They're back. The figure stepped back, letting the darkness engulf him again as he disappeared into the night. 20 minutes later, Kazuki, Tessai, and Yoruichi were standing in front of a 2-story-high warehouse with cement gray walls. They were still carrying their unconscious friends over their shoulders. There were windows along all the 4 sides on both levels. Most of them were cracked or hanging halfway out of the frame. The roof was made of tin and was a dark gray color. The door was a large thick gray tin door with the number 13 stenciled on it, and it had handles that enabled the door to slide up. So this is where we'll be staying. Yoruichi was clearly not pleased with the location. The thought of staying in an unclean abandoned warehouse did not sit well with her. It's a start, Urahara said. Just until I can get enough money to open up the shop I was thinking about when we were looking for this place. If you don't like it, then you can be my guest and leave. I might take you up on that offer. Who knows? Maybe I can bunk with Naruto. She joked, only to see the eyes of Tessai and Urahara both look at the ground. What? Did I say something wrong? Urahara sighed deeply. Look, Yoruichi, there is no easy way to say this, especially to you, so I'm just going to tell you flat out. But let's go inside first. Okay. With that said, they all walked towards the warehouse and slid open the door and walked in. The inside was surprisingly well kept. It was better looking than the outside. It was mostly empty, with a few boxes scattered throughout the space. Finding a spot near the door, they gently set Shinji and rest of the group down on the floor. All right, talk. What's wrong with Naruto? Yoruichi asked Urahara. Okay, bear with me here. Before all this happened to Shinji and the rest of the group, I got a message from Naruto. What do you mean you got a message from Naruto? A slightly mad Yoruichi asked. Before he left 10 years ago, I gave him a soul pager so we can contact each other if something happened. So exactly when were you planning on telling me this? She said, not liking where this conversation was leading. Just let me finish. Then you can ask me whatever questions you have when I'm done. Urahara told her. Fine, she said, folding her arms across her chest. As I was saying, Naruto sent me a message saying that something had happened to him. At first I could not figure out what could have transpired, but with everything that I have seen earlier tonight, and hearing about what Aizen had done to Shinji and the others, I started thinking, if Aizen had the fake Hogyoku when he and Naruto fought, he might have used it on him. Yoruichi then remembered what Naruto had written in the letter he had given her before he left. Hang on a minute, does this Hogyoku look like a little black orb? She asked. Please say no. I don't want to be right, but I have to know. She thought to herself. Yes, it is. How did you know that? Urahara asked. Well, before he disappeared, Naruto left me a letter. He wrote what he'd been doing and what had happened between him and Aizen. In the letter he mentioned that Aizen used a little black orb on him, but didn't know what it did to him. There was a moment of silence. Then suddenly, Urahara jumped up. So I was right. He did use it on him. And because Naruto has a fast healing process, the hollowification probably took much longer than it did on Shinji. Nevertheless, if it's true, then the process has already started. He exclaimed. The moment the words were out of his mouth, Yoruichi ran towards the warehouse doors, but she was stopped when Urahara shunpioed in front of her. Yoruichi, I know you want to see if he is okay. I do too. But if he's going through the hollowification, we would have sensed him the moment we arrived. Either he found a way to Hawako Mundo or he's dead. Urahara said the last part with a completely somber tone. As for Yoruichi, hearing that last part, she had mixed emotions. Sadness and anger rushed through her simultaneously. How could she possibly give up on one of her longtime friends? Especially someone such as Naruto. Naruto, who came into their lives, their boring lives, and brought excitement to it. Every day was always new and adventurous when he was around, and she refused to go back to dull and boring. The last 10 years had been bad enough, but to never see Naruto again, well, Yoruichi didn't think she could bear it. Kazuki, get your out of my way or I'll make you. She threatened him. Yoruichi justly. He was cut off by Yoruichi punching him the gut, and causing him to fall to his knees, whimpering in pain. You may have given up on him, but I'm not, and I never will. Naruto would never give up on us, so why should we give up on him? If you were one of his true friends, you wouldn't need to think about helping a friend, just like I did when I saved you. With that said, she ran towards the door and left in search of Naruto. Urahara slowly got up, wincing from the blow that Yoruichi had dealt him. She's right, if I was a true friend, I wouldn't have to think twice. If anybody could save Naruto from what he is about to become, it is her. I just hope she will be okay, because I have got a bad feeling about this. If Naruto really is going through the hollowification, then we are all in for a fight. Meanwhile, Yoruichi was panicking. Well, not panicking, more like freaking out, because she knew that Naruto was in trouble and she had no clue where to find him. She had looked in every nook and cranny in the entire town twice with her super speed, and she hadn't found him, or even a clue to his whereabouts. She was currently standing on the tallest building in Karakura town looking over the town, debating whether to go back to Urahara or keep looking for Naruto. I don't know what to do. I've been looking all over this damn town, and still cannot find him. Damn it. Where are you, Naruto? She thought. Then, as if Kami herself was listening to her and giving her a sign, she heard a noise ring out through the town. RRRROOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOO what was that? It sounded like a hollow. She was going to investigate, but stopped when she saw a bear and wolf-like hollow on the street below her. When did those hollows come from? I didn't even sense them. Are my senses becoming dull in this place? Hey, it looks like they found him, the bear-looking hollow said to the wolf hollow. Why are we even risking all of this just for one Shinigami? Is he really worth it? The wolf hollow asked. Yoruichi was now interested in what they were saying, so she shun-po'd as close as she could without alerting them. Weren't you listening to Takeo? This is not just any regular Shinigami. This one has the power of a Shinigami, but he also has the power of a hollow. A Shinigami with hollow powers. Are they talking about Naruto? Yoruichi wondered. So what? I'm going to risk my for just this one soul. You're such an idiot. If we eat this soul we can advance to the next level, maybe even Vasto Lord. I don't know about this. Just come on, you big baby. Alright fine, and I'm not a baby. I'm just trying to keep my alive. With that said both of them left in the direction in which the loud roar had come from. Unknown to them was that the purple-haired goddess was following right behind them. Yoruichi heard the sounds of battle and death when she finally stopped following the bear and wolf hollows. She carefully moved closer to the clearing. She could see a tall man surrounded by the two hollows, and about a dozen other hollows were closing in fast. She took a risk and went in even closer to get a better look at the man. She could see that he was wearing a pair of black sandals with his toes and ankles showing. His pants were all black and ended at his lower calf. His chest was bare, but what really caught her attention was the black bat-like wings on his back. On his shoulders there were some weird tattoos connecting to his upper back just above his wings. On his arms, he wore a pair of fingerless gloves, and his fingernails looked as if they were sharp as claws. When she finally looked at his head her eyes widened as far as they could as she eyed the man's unruly spiky sunshine blonde hair that looked just like Naruto's, but a bit longer and two long bangs going back. There's no way Naruto, or whoever that is, can possibly take on 14 hollows. Especially these ones. They look like they're at least at Juka's class. I've got to help him, she thought to herself. Preparing herself to engage a hollow closest to her position, but was stopped when someone started to talk. Tisk, tisk, tisk Naruto Uzumaki. You know, you're very hard to find. My gang and I have been looking for you for the past couple of days. The mysterious voice said. Involuntarily, Yoruichi let out a gasp. That's Naruto. But he looks so different. The now revealed Naruto narrowed his eyes. That voice. Is that you, Takeo? Ah, so you remembered me, I'm honored. The voice said, walking into the clearing. He was a hollow, standing at about 5 feet, 11 inches, with white spiky hair with one bang hanging over his dragon-like mask. He had on what looked to be like some knight armor made of the bones of a dragon. On his shoulders, you could see dragon-like hands with a white cape attached to it hanging behind him. His chest was protected by a made of white-colored bone. This same bone also adjourned his arms and legs. His hands were white as well, with his fingers in the shape of dragon claws. His boots looked like regular knight boots. It appears you live up to your name, Takeo Shiroryu no Shumetsu. White Dragon of Death. I guess I do, don't I? Enough about me. How about you tell me how you really got your powers? If you cooperate, I might actually spare this little shithole you call a home. I told you already. You must became a vast. I did that already. What you are looking at is my Vasto Lord form and I still do not have powers like yours. Now tell me how you really got your powers. He thundered. Then a moment later, Takeo sighed and shook his head a little. Sorry about that little outburst. Sometimes I can't control my own anger. To tell you the truth, I don't know how I got my new powers. You don't know how you got your powers, you think I'm going to believe that bullshit. For the past 10 years since that day we met, I was nothing but a regular hollow. I was amazed to see a Shinigami with hollow powers. I remembered asking you, and then about you how you got them, and you told me once I got strong enough, once I've become a Vasto Lord I would have powers like a Shinigami. I did what you said. I've done it faster than any hollow ever did. I've became a Vasto Lord in 10 years, 10 fucking years and made a name for myself, Shiro Ryu no Shumetsu. Now you're telling me you don't know how you got your powers. That's about right. Takeo sighed. Alright, I guess we're going to have to do this the hard way then. With the snap of his fingers, half of the hollows behind Naruto charged towards him. A lion-like hollow was the first to reach him. It lunged towards him with its talons, only for Naruto to rotate clockwise in 90 degrees. He dodged the attack and at the same time swung his left arm up, slicing through the hollow's arm and neck, killing it instantly. Blood gushed from its neck and arm as the appendage fell off, hitting the ground with a heavy thud. Naruto then shun-PO'd away just as a fist slammed into the spot he was only a second earlier. Every other hollow was looking around frantically, trying to find where Naruto had disappeared. He's above you, Takeo informed them. However, it was too late for a bear-like hollow. As soon as it looked up, a fist slammed right into its mask, smashing it and killing the hollow right on the spot. It burst into little black particles. Naruto started to stand up, only to see a yellow beam heading towards him. He quickly jumped out of path of the attack, rolling back onto his feet looking at the hollow that had shot the Sero at him. So you want to play like that, huh? Then take this. Naruto opened his hand as a little red and black ball formed. He placed his arm in front of him. Within seconds, the little ball had expanded to the size of a basketball. He gave the hollows one last look, and smirked from beneath his mask. Sero. A red and black beam shot from Naruto's hand wide enough to engulf 5 hollows in the way, along with a good portion of the forest. When the Sero finally died down, the hollows that were in the direct path of the shot were nowhere in sight. On the ground, a long crater trail was formed when the Sero that had touched the trees had caused the trees to be destroyed as well. Muahaha. 7 down, 8 to go. Naruto said. His tone was filled with bloodlust. Meanwhile, the rest of the hollows stood frozen in fear. They couldn't believe what they had just seen. Everyone was dying off like a bunch of flies. They stood there staring at Naruto, but once he turned to face them, they all got another good look at his eyes, and they could have sworn there was a giant crimson fox with blood crimson eyes just like Naruto's with 9 swirling tails behind him. I don't know about the rest of you, but I want to live. One of the hollows yelled. I agree. Then how about we get the hell out of here? Another one said. With that being said, the remaining hollows all decided to retreat to Hawako Mundo. Turning around, each one was greeted with a clone of Naruto. Are those real clones or afterimage? Both Takeo and Yoruichi wondered. Fools, you think you could escape from me? The clones said in unison. The hollows didn't reply. They were too much in shock, as the one thing they were trying to run from was blocking their only escape. I always wanted to know what happens to a hollow when its mask is removed. Naruto said with a smirk under his mask. That was when the clones all grabbed hold of the hollow's mask in front of them. What or why you doing? One hollow said in fear. Weren't you listening? I'm going to take of your mask. What? You can't be Sari Arg. The hollow started to say, but stopped forcefully once one of the clones started to pull on his mask. I don't believe it. He's actually going through with it. Takeo thought. All the other hollows started to yell out in agony. Yoruichi closed her eyes, for she could not stand to watch. Even if they were hollows, they did not deserve this kind of torture. Why are these masks on so tight? One of Naruto's clones said. Let go. Let go of my ma. That was the last thing the hollows said because the clones, one by one, were finally able to tear off all their masks. Humph, it's about time. Another clone said before they all disappeared. Yoruichi, who was still not looking, finally decided to open her eyes and look since it had gotten quiet all of a sudden. What she saw made her eyes widen in shock. 7 hollow bodies were on the ground without their masks on. She could see the 7 Narutos with the masks in their hands fall and hit the ground as the clones dispelled. He did it. He actually did it, Yoruichi said. She didn't know what to think or do. Until that moment, she had never in her life seen a hollow without its mask before. I guess nothing happens when you remove the mask. Or maybe it was because they were weak. He then looks at Takeo. How about it, Takeo? You want to test out my new theory? And what is that? What would happen if a Vasto Lord mask was, accidentally, removed? WH, was all he managed to say, because a fist came out of nowhere and Takeo had to dodge at the last second. Man, that guy is fast. I didn't even see him move. He thought to himself, as he ducked under a kick aimed for his head. What's the matter? Can't keep up with me? No, that's not it, Takeo said as he crossed his arms to block a powerful punch that cracked his bone-like armor, forcing him to slide back. You just caught me off guard, he told Naruto as he rubbed his arm, taking his cape off and dropping it on the ground. Now let's do this, he finished saying. He charged towards Naruto with his fist back as Naruto prepared to counterattack. Bam! Both their fists collided, causing a minor shock wave strong enough for Yoruichi to stumble back a bit, but it did not stop there. The moment after the first punches were thrown, they just kept going. Punch after punch, kick after kick. It was like they both could anticipate each other. With each punch and kick, which they threw at each other, it caused increasing shock waves that grew ever stronger. Soon enough the ground, along with the trees, was starting to crack, break, and tear apart. Yoruichi was dumbstruck. As far as she knew, no one but Kenpachi and the head commander were able to go toe-to-toe with Naruto. Now this Hollow was engaged in battle with him, and by the looks of it, the two seemed pretty evenly matched. At that moment, Takeo and Naruto finally separated. They each regarded one another, as they took a short break. Both of them were breathing heavily. You're pretty strong. I guess it's true what they say about Vasto Lords. Well, what it says in the book anyway. No one has ever met one in person. If Takeo could smirk, he would have right then. You're welcome, I guess. But how about we finish this? Didn't you want to know how I got powers? Forget it. I'll just find out how to get them myself. As long as I can kill you, I'll be fine, Takeo said, bringing his arm up and pointing it towards Naruto. Seeing what he was about to do, he lifted up his own arm, mimicking him. Two orbs formed, a white one in Takeo's hand and a crimson-black one in his. Yoruichi, sensing how much Ryutsu they were charging into both of their attacks, decided now was a good time to make her presence known. She ran from her hiding place and sprang out into full view of Naruto and Takeo. Both of you have to stop. If you shoot those Seros, it could destroy this whole town. She yelled out to both of them. Naruto's eyes widened underneath his mask as he looked at her. Yo, Yoruichi, Naruto said, completely shocked to see her there. Unfortunately, for Naruto, Takeo was not so easily distracted. He used the opportunity to launch his attack. Sero, Takeo shouted out. Naruto, distracted by Yoruichi's arrival, didn't see it coming. The next part seemed to happen in slow motion. As he heard Takeo's voice yell out his attack, Naruto tore his gaze away from Yoruichi to face Takeo. His eyes widened as he saw a white Sero heading straight towards him. He released his own Sero in order to try to stop or slow it down, but to no avail. Takeo's Sero soon engulfed it, along with him. Naruto oh 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 oh. Yoruichi yelled out when she saw the Sero hit Naruto. When the Sero finally died down, there was nothing left of Naruto. Yoruichi was numb with shock. She had just witnessed the love of her life die right in front of her, and it was all her fault. She was trying to save the town from being destroyed in the crossfire, but she didn't expect him to die because of not attacking. She fell to her knees, sobbing in anguish. It's my fault, it's my fault. She kept repeating those same words as tears started to fall down her cheeks. She heard the sound of footsteps, and felt someone standing over her. If I had known it would be that easy to kill him like that, I would have shot one earlier and ended it. But then again, it was you who distracted him. He then looked down at the crying Yoruichi. You gave me the opportunity to shoot it in the first place, so thanks. Yoruichi was just ignoring him and looking down at the ground. Tears were still flowing freely down her cheeks and dripping off her chin. I should kill you as well, but letting you live knowing that you're the one that killed him is worse than death, so I'll let you live. Takeo told her as he went to find his cape. Surprisingly, his cape was not destroyed or even damaged, as it was caught on a tree that was still standing. Dusting it off, he put it on and looked at Yoruichi. Just to let you know, crying won't bring him back. It'll just make it worse. Trust me, I know, he said, whispering the last part to himself. With nothing else to say, he opened a black portal back to Hawako Mundo and left. How can I go on living now? It's my fault he died, maybe I show. Yo Yoruichi. A familiar voice called out to her. Yoruichi's head shot towards the direction where the voice was coming from. She saw a bloody hand grab hold of a tree trunk. She noticed that the hands looked like claws. Hope surged in her. She saw the hand pull more of the body into view, and within seconds, it revealed the one person she had sworn died in front of her not even 5 minutes ago. Naruto. She yelled as she ran towards him but stopped in shock when she saw the condition he was in. Naruto was pretty beat up. His pants torn to his knees and his sandals destroyed. On his body there were some scrapes and cuts with some minor burns, however his left arm was completely gone from the shoulder down. His right arm looked cut up and burned. His mask was basically destroyed. All that was left was a piece that was covering his left eye from his forehead to the top of his cheek. Hey, what's wrong, Yoruichi? Why are you crying? You know it hurts me to see you cry. He told her between his bouts of heavy breathing. Yoruichi wiped away her tears as she walked towards him. You know, you're the biggest idiot I know. You're worried about me crying in the condition you're in. What this? This is nothing compared to what I used to get when I was Al. He started to fall but Yoruichi caught him. Naruto. She shakes him. Naruto. Then she noticed that he had lost a lot of blood. He was quite pale and his left shoulder was still bleeding profusely. Yoruichi shifted and got a better grip of Naruto so she could move more comfortably. Just hold on, Naruto. She then shunpioed to the only people she knew who could help him.